I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I cannot stand Charlie's Angels. It's nothing personal against Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, or Lucy Liu. It's just that I'm resentful of the property itself. It started out easy enough as an okay movie, but then that led to a bad sequel. Then a TV series that lasted 7 episodes. Then video games, and comic books, and a new remake. Okay, we get it. The concept is awesome. 3 super badass women kicking ass. It's a merchandising goldmine that caters to both men and women. But can we just take a break for a bit? Let's say 40 years? But would the origins of Charlie's Angels be completely different from the movie which has been sold to me? Can I change my mind and put down my pitchfork? Well, let's see by taking a trip back to the 1970s. So sit back in your burnt orange and maroon recliner, open up a bottle of Mr. Pibb, and see if I'll have a change of heart about these 3 foxy ladies in this episode of Gone, But Not Forgotten. Charlie's Angels was created by Ben Roberts and Ivan Goff, although it was heavily developed by legendary producers Leonard Goldberg and Aaron Spelling. Goff and Roberts had first titled this series The Alley Cats, in which 3 women named Allison, Lee, and Catherine would reside in alleys and wear whips and chains, which the creators said had nothing to do with sex.
Right.
Okay guys, whatever you say. By this point, one of the 3 angels was cast, Kate Jackson, whom Spelling and Goldberg picked due to being popular on another series they produced called The Rookies. The show's premise eventually evolved into that of 3 women going on missions given to them by a millionaire boss named Charlie, who was supposed to be more involved in the series, as he would join them on missions from time to time. But as Kate Jackson began to help in the development, she and Spelling agreed that Charlie should be more of a mysterious figure, who would never be seen and would just be a voice coming from a speaker, handing out assignments to our angels. The original actor who was chosen to be the voice of Charlie was Academy Award winner Gig Young, but Young was fired when he showed up so drunk that he couldn't say his lines. Sadly, this would be one of many roles Young would lose due to his alcoholism. Years before, he was fired by Mel Brooks when he showed up too drunk to stand on the set of Blazing Saddles, and his role would famously go to Gene Wilder. John Forsythe was then called by Aaron Spelling in the middle of the night, begging him to come in and do the lines for Charlie. Forsythe said that he walked into the studio still in his pajamas and recorded his lines. John was very rarely on the set of the show and never met the angels very often. In fact, he had a funny story of his first meeting with Farrah Fawcett. He was playing tennis when she came up to him on the court and hugged him, squealing that she had finally met Charlie. The original actresses cast to play the angels were Kate Jackson, Jaclyn Smith, and the most famous angel of all, Farrah Fawcett. Fawcett was cast after Spelling saw her performance in Logan's Run, which was a big box office hit in 1976. As for Jaclyn Smith, she had the toughest time getting on the show, auditioning with dozens of other actresses, including some girl named Michelle Pfeiffer. Gee, I wonder whatever happened to her. Yeah, she probably didn't do anything cool. Smith almost didn't get the part because they initially wanted a redhead, but after seeing her chemistry with the rest of the cast in her audition, Smith won the role. So thus, the cast was set. Kate Jackson would play Sabrina Duncan, the leader of the trio, who was very smart and clever as she could think on her feet in dangerous situations. The gorgeous Jaclyn Smith played Kelly Garrett, who was the glue that held the angels together. She was like the big sister who could make connections with their clients, putting their fears at ease. She could also develop informants during the show, as she was the most outgoing of the bunch. Finally, we had the glamorous Farrah Fawcett playing Jill Monroe, the angel with the bubbly personality, but also the most athletic. The role of John Bosley was played by David Doyle. Originally, Spelling wanted Happy Days star Tom Bosley for the role, and even named the character after him. But when that didn't work out, he chose David Doyle instead. Funny story, David Doyle was often confused for Tom Bosley. God, that must have been so annoying to him. But Doyle did a great job in the role, as he played Bosley as both a father figure and a loyal sidekick for the Angels. When Spelling and Goldberg went to ABC and pitched the show, they were met with a lot of resistance, being told that it was the worst idea they had ever heard. The network executives Barry Diller and Michael Eisner, yes, that Michael Eisner, reportedly said, "Women as leads of a show? Women as action heroes? Who would believe that?" But eventually they relented, as Spelling had a deal where he would get $25,000 for a pilot. And they decided they would at least get something for their money. ABC was still a pain in the ass about this pilot though. They made Spelling cast David Ogden Stiers as Scott Woodville, Charlie's second-in-command, and Bosley's boss. The network said the show needed more of a male presence, since women leads would not be accepted by the general public. After the pilot aired and the show became a giant hit, Spelling convinced them to drop the character. And I have to say that this pilot is really good. Even by today's standards, it mostly holds up. The episode's plot revolves around the Angels going undercover to prove that a missing vineyard owner named Vince Lemaire was murdered by his second wife and his foreman. Kelly pretends to be the long-lost daughter of the missing businessman, worming her way into their lives to try to catch them off guard and incriminate themselves. She even meets the daughter's childhood love, Aram, played by Tommy Lee Jones. What? Sorry, did I get neuralized? I can't believe this. I mean, look at his hair. Hey, wait, doesn't he look like... Oh my god, Tommy Lee Jones is Javier Bardem's illegitimate father. Oh man, this makes the ending of No Country for Old Men actually make some sense. At first, Kelly pretends to be the lost heiress, but then the bad guys realize that she's lying, after finding out the real daughter is in town with her lawyer. But it turns out that this is also a scam, because it's really Sabrina in disguise. Kelly then pretends to be a con woman who is trying to steal the swamp on their property. She says that the heiress has some hidden agenda, so she offers to cut them in. Then Sabrina pretends to let them find out that the land is really full of oil. That's when Jill pretends to be the owner of the land and scams them of all their money by selling them the land, which causes them to dig up the body of the murdered husband in front of the police so that they get arrested. Hold on. Give me a minute. Whew. This was an excellent pilot. I would argue that it's even better than some pilots being made today. And much to the network's surprise, the show was a massive hit. Ratings went through the roof, and merchandise was selling like hotcakes. Toys, t-shirts, and of course the Farrah Fawcett poster that every teenage boy had in their bedroom. Did you know that this poster sold 6 million copies in 1 year? The poster is so iconic that you can even see Farrah Fawcett's swimsuit in the Smithsonian.
That belongs in a museum!
This brings us to the phenomenon that was Fawcett mania. While watching the first season, you could immediately tell that Farrah Fawcett was the breakout star. To say that Fawcett was glamorous was an understatement, to say the least. The public became enraptured by her, with women going in droves to their local beauty salon to get their hair done to match hers. It wasn't just that she was beautiful, but she could also be goofy and had a smile that could light up a room. She was the girl next door, who you always had a crush on. Farrah Fawcett was special, and the world knew it. The first season had some other great episodes. One of my favorites is on every fan's top 10 list of best episodes. It was called Angels in Chains. This episode starts on a dark note, when a woman tries to escape prison and is killed in cold blood in the episode's first minute. I was shocked that something so dark like this could be aired on network TV at the time. Today, that's something we're all used to watching on TV, but back then, it was something that never happened. Anyway, it turns out this murdered girl is the sister of a woman who hired the Angels.
Where is she now? Well, that's why I want to hire you. Our parents are gone. Elizabeth is the only family I have. I'm just not sure where she is.
Yes, the 1970s, when acting was optional. This woman is trying to find her sister, who was framed for carrying drugs and sentenced to a prison that tends to make people disappear. Even though that opening scene was impressive, I kept wondering why this episode was such a fan favorite.
Open your towel.
Oh, I get it now. Yeah, it's definitely on my personal top 10 list too. In all seriousness though, this episode has its share of serious moments. Like when we find out the prison is a way to force girls to become prostitutes, to let the wardens curry favor with people in the local government. It also has some silly moments, like when the girls are forced to work in the fields, but yet they had time to get their makeup and hair done. One of my favorite moments is how the angels kill the bad guys with potatoes. Also, this episode features baby Kim Basinger. Look, isn't she cute? Oh my god, I just realized that both Vicky Vale and Two-Face were featured on this show. That's pretty cool. Fun fact, Basinger actually auditioned to be one of the original angels, but it didn't work out. She was set up at the end of this episode to have a recurring role as the secretary of the agency, but that also didn't work out. Now let me take a minute here to talk about their boss, Charlie. Wow, what an asshole. I'm serious, this guy is a real prick. He's always sending the girls on dangerous missions while he's banging some bimbo, and then at the end of the episode, he takes credit for the success of the mission. What a Class A jerk. I have to say though, they were very creative in how they hid Charlie's face. One of the most memorable moments was when Charlie gets kidnapped by criminals in Hawaii. At the climax of the episode, one of the angels finds Charlie trapped on a yacht, only to discover that he's jumped out a window and swam to shore while they were fighting the bad guys. Why do these women keep working for this slime ball? The network wanted the producers to reveal Charlie's face at one point to increase the ratings, but Spelling refused, and I admire that he never buckled to the pressure. It's refreshing to see someone not get bullied by a powerful network. But things behind the scenes were not pleasant. After one season, Farrah Fawcett quit the show. Spelling and ABC had a huge fight with her over the decision. Some people say that she left the show because it was hurting her marriage. Her husband at the time was Lee Majors, who was also on a hit show, The $6 Billion Man. People have speculated that because both of them were working at the same time, it left them little opportunity to spend some time together, causing a rift between them. However, the reason most people cited for her departure was to further her movie career. And I think that makes more sense, considering her popularity at the time. Fawcett was eventually let go from her contract on the condition that she would guest star in future seasons. So Jill's younger sister, Chris Monroe, was introduced as the new Angel, played by Cheryl Ladd, who had the incredibly hard task to replace the public's favorite Angel. But she quickly won over the fans with her natural charm and beauty. Much to the relief of the network, the ratings stayed strong after Ladd's introduction. Halfway into the third season, though, things took yet another unfortunate turn. Kate Jackson was cast in a starring role for an upcoming movie, but she was forced to give up the role because of the network and producers' unwillingness to give her the time off of the show. That movie turned out to be Kramer vs. Kramer, which led her replacement, Meryl Streep, to win an Oscar for the role.
Damn!
Jackson was pissed and bitter over the situation. This caused her to be very difficult with the rest of the cast and crew. By the end of the season, she was fired and replaced by a new angel, Julie Rogers, played by Tanya Roberts. And I never liked Julie Rogers. The chemistry with the other angels wasn't there, and she never gelled that well with the rest of the characters. It was by this point that ratings for the show began to dip, and critics were becoming more vocal on their hatred of what they said was Jiggle TV. And this brings up the common complaint of the entire Charlie's Angels franchise: sexism, and the degrading image of women on TV. I can see why people think that. I mean, the show's intro certainly doesn't help.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to the police academy.
God, it creeps me out whenever he says little girls. It reminds me of the world's creepiest song.
Thank heaven for little girls.
I don't care what people say, that song is gross. Anywho, the cast rejected this notion, as they said they would get fan letters and meet other girls who would tell them that they wanted to become police officers. They say that's what's often overlooked from the show, is that these are women who defeat the bad guys and claim their power against repression. I for one could understand both arguments. But regardless, the show did have a huge impact on the general public. Sadly, by the 5th season, ratings were plummeting, and the writing was on the wall. The multiple cast changes had taken their toll on the viewers, and their interest began to fade. The network began to scramble and move the show around the schedule, trying to figure out a time slot that would bring in more ratings. This only made things worse, as the remaining fans couldn't figure out when the show was going to air. The nail in the coffin was the writers' strike that year, and ABC pulled the plug. And on June 24th, 1981, the Angels went on their final mission. So, after watching this show, has my opinion on Charlie's Angels changed? Well, I have to say in terms of the show, yes it has. I think Charlie's Angels was a lot more fun than whatever I saw at my local movie theater. And I've learned to have more respect for a franchise that I had once written off in the past. Now, should the show come back? No. It should definitely not come back. Not only do I think we have Charlie's Angels fatigue after the failure of the sequel, the 2011 TV show, and the 2019 remake, but it just doesn't fit in the TV culture today. The only way I could see it being brought back on the air would be to have a new take on the property. Maybe make the show more like the Birds of Prey comic books, where you have the Angels recruited by a mysterious hacker known only as Charlie. But honestly, the show is too dated to work on TV anymore. The problem with shows like Charlie's Angels is that the concept of women kicking ass is no longer anything new in entertainment. Like so many older shows, their DNA has been used for so many other properties that there's nothing creative left to do with it. Charlie's Angels is a historic show that can be appreciated for not only how it changed the landscape of TV, but for the introduction of strong and capable women in pop culture. We shouldn't need to see it be remade. The original is enough. You can see most of the seasons of Charlie's Angels for free on a variety of streaming services, although it seems to be a jigsaw puzzle. On IMDb TV, you can watch the first season and some episodes of other seasons, while on Tubi you can see seasons 2 through 4, and I cannot find anywhere to watch season 5 for free. Regardless of what seasons you get to watch, the magic is there. So if you can, I would suggest that you take time out of your day to watch some of the many adventures of this kick-ass angelic trio. I guarantee that you folks will be pleasantly surprised. I'm Jesse Shade, speaking on behalf of David Arroyo for JoBlo.com. And thank you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company that appreciates all of your support. And we will see you next time for the next installment of Gone, But Not Forgotten.